Hi, everybody. It's Craig from Doc Sports. We're back with a Friday version of Doc's Daily. And unfortunately, we thought we were having Griffin today, but Griffin had some eye issue or something. He had to go to the eye doctor. So you just get Robert and myself today. But as much as we both love talking college hoops, we can't complain. I mean, this is the best time of the year if you're a college hoop fanatic. And I am for sure of that, and I know Robert is as well. Don't forget, not only get our free plays every day here, make sure you hit that like and subscribe, but go over and get that free $60 if you're a new customer. Try us out, docsports.com/free60. Get you $60 to use however you want. It's $30 per sport per day. So you could say if you like NBA or college hoops, you could get both Robert and nice plays for tonight. And that does come with the guarantee to win. So if it doesn't win, you do get another day. So make sure you get in on it. Of course, you can also use it towards the week pass if you want. It's $99 per sport. Okay, don't forget about the Premium Plus. We've had a ton of signups. All you got to do, it's $19.99. You get the Indian Cowboy. He's been doing that for four years. But now we added a Premium Plus. So it's $30 more, and you'll get both the Indian Cowboy and the 3 experts every day. That's basically a $90 value every day, and it's $30 extra. So make sure you click the link in the description to get in to get 3 expert plays. I believe we're doing it 4 days now. 9-3. So that's a heck of a run. I've been picking the winners from the expert plays that we have. So make sure you get in on. Okay, Robert, I know we're going to call you the BYU Robert because, you know, BYU was your team last week in 8-unit play. Big weekend ahead. So we're going to talk college basketball Friday. Then we're going to talk NBA. Then I'm going to drop a little NHL. Then we're going to go back to college basketball and talk Saturday because it's a loaded card for Saturday, last Saturday of the regular season. So some interesting matchups. What do you like here to kick us off in college hoops for Friday night, though?
Looking at Ball State, I will take the points with Ball State, Miami of Ohio. And this one, it really just kind of comes down to motivation. Miami of Ohio is locked into the 2 seed for the conference tournament. It's senior night, but they don't have a very experienced team, but that'll still be their distraction. They're laying 9.5 points here to a Ball State team that, okay, the MAC switched in 2021. Now their conference tournament, they only take the top 8 teams. Used to be everybody made the conference tournament. Now only the top 8 teams. Ball State, they need some help. Like they would need Northern Illinois to win tonight as like a 14-point underdog. Doesn't matter. They're still fighting to extend their season. So they're going to max out in this game. They're in the 9th seed right now. They need to win and get some help to get up into that 8th seed. So I just think that Miami of Ohio doesn't really have anything to play for. Ball State has everything to play for. You're giving me a nice, big, fat, juicy 10 points. I will take the points with Ball State.
Yeah, 4-1 against the spread their last 5 games. So 4-1. I'll take 4-1 against the spread and a little run with Ball State. I mean, you don't have to win. That's the best thing when you're getting this many points. Is Miami could dominate the whole game, throw in a 3 at the buzzer, win by 7, or cover by 7. They don't cover and we all cash. So
yeah, I just would be really surprised if Miami of Ohio just ran away and hid with this game and won by 18 or 20 points. I mean, there's always a chance that Ball State just mails it in and gets bombed by 20, but that's why it's gambling, right?
Yeah, I mean that if it was a stronger play, it would be a premium play that only what people pay for. So these guys are, just so you guys know, just like a word to the wise. Every once in a while, you'll get a premium play from us in these, but usually they're smaller plays. These are the smaller unit plays that would be like 2, or 3 unit plays, just as like a PSA, public service announcement, when you're listening on our free pick videos and stuff like that. Okay, I got a little college basketball for you tonight, and I'm going to go to the big one. Illinois, Purdue. Illinois is favored by 4.5, total 159.5. I really don't know what the motivation is for either one of these teams because I think they're pretty much locked in about where they're going to be for the NCAA tournament. And, I do think it means a lot to any school in the Big Ten to win the Big Ten tournament. Like, I do think it's like you don't see teams just be like, hey, we're just going to play for the national championship in March Madness. They really do put it all on the line. I think this is going to be kind of a slow start game. I know both of these teams kind of been good on the overs lately, but I like the under 159.5 because at this number, all you need is about a 3 or 4 minute stretch where they don't score. And unless it goes to overtime, you're not getting the over because when you have these high totals, you pretty much need consistent scoring throughout the entire, I always divide them into periods, kind of like 4 or 5 minute sections of each half. I think this one goes under. I'm taking it under 159.5. And what I think It is senior night. Obviously, we're dealing with all senior night games here Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But I just think it's like one of those games where it's probably closer than what people think. I would probably take the points with Purdue, but the stronger play, I think, is on the under in this matchup.
Like that because, both teams are coming off high-scoring games, so it's kind of that up-down thing. Purdue scored 100 points its last time out. Illinois scored 93. They hit 14 threes when they upset Michigan their last time out. So the two teams combined for 193 their last time out. But if you look back at what they've been doing in the weeks before that, see a lot of 66, 73. They're
Purdue at home. Purdue at home
that
too.
Neighborhood tonight. So I kind of like that under.
Like Purdue at home has been like they've scored a lot at home, but on the road there's not quite the same.
Yeah.
That's pretty much consistent with everybody. I mean, you just don't shoot as well on the road for the most part. I mean, every once in a while you'll see like a team that's just like crazy on the road, but they can't make things at home. But it's usually the opposite. And I think that's Purdue to get the over. I think Purdue would have to really push the pace.
Really, yeah.
I just don't
good
see
defensive coaches too, like two coaches that kind of make their bones on defense as well. So I think I'd be surprised if anybody got to 80 in that game.
Of these two teams, what do you think? Like, which one goes farther in the NCAA tournament? You think
Purdue?
Purdue. So? I mean, guard play usually
because they have Braden. They have Braden Smith. That's it. I love that guy. That guy he's one of the best guards in basketball. I know that like Trey Kaufman-Renn maybe has better numbers because he's really the only big man that they kind of throw it into. But Braden Smith is awesome. He's just like, if you like college basketball, he's just kind of a quintessential. Like that guy's probably not going to do anything in the pros. Probably not going to be a pro. Maybe go overseas or something like that. But he is a great college basketball player, and I like them. And Illinois, they've just been a little too up and down. I mean, getting pasted by 50 against Duke, kind of like that's not great for the.
They were injured though. They were really sick that.
They had the flu and stuff like that. But I mean, still, they've just been really streaky and really up and down this whole season. Honestly, I think that they overperformed when you looked at some of the guys that left the program after last year. I wasn't expecting them to be kind of as good as they were early. But no, I'll take guard play. Fletcher Lawyer, Braden Smith, those guards for Purdue. They've played in and won a lot of big games, so I think that their ceiling is higher.
I hope it's Purdue. I worked basketball camps for 5 years with John Lawyer, which is he bounced around in the NBA as assistant, and of course that's the dad of both Foster and what was the other lawyer? Fletcher. Yeah. So I like to see those do well. His other daughter's at playing volleyball at Butler. So pretty good family there. His mom was here as a volleyball coach at UC as well. So good family. And I think these are good kids. And I love the guard play. The only thing that worries me in the tournament with Purdue is their defense at times has been a little leaky, and they're just kind of outscoring people. And in the tournament, you cannot depend that you're just going to score all the time. That sometimes your shooting goes cold. So I kind of worry about Purdue, especially away from home. I'm not a big Underwood fan, but I will say he every year he kind of does it. He's kind of been there, so it's kind of starts to earn a little more, where I'm not hating on him as much as I used to. I used to freaking really hate on him. So, all right, so let's talk a little NBA, give a free play, and then, like I said, I got one NHL I'll talk about, and then we'll go back to because I want to get to Saturday because that's where the big games are. So, got a free play for us for NBA tonight?
Yeah, I'll take Sacramento in this one. San Antonio, they're fighting the good fight, man. They really have for most of the season. They're coming off a win over Brooklyn, but they're just undermanned. Talking about DeAndre Fox was talking about having to get surgery, and he's going to wait until they're kind of eliminated from the playoffs. Like those guys are already starting to look ahead to the offseason.
Yep.
Basically, they're already starting to make some plans. The Kings, they're still in the mix. They're still in the thick of it. They have a lot to play for. Obviously, there's a trade between these two teams, so that'll provide some motivation. I don't think 6.5 is a lot to lay against a Spurs team that I feel like every night is either winning by 13 points or losing by 13 points. I just don't see a ton of in between. I don't feel like the Spurs play a lot of close games, right? Like they're either blowing people out or they're getting blown out, and this is one where I could see them getting run tonight. So I'll take the Kings.
Obviously, the story is going to be De'Aaron Fox coming back first time against his old team, coming back to Sacramento. I kind of think you play Fox over his point total tonight. I think he'll want to show up and show out a little bit, and that'll be the key. Like if he really, really wants this game, I think rest of the Spurs will rally behind him, and like because he's kind of their, like you don't trade for a guy and they're going to pay him max contract if you don't think he's the superstar. So if he wants this game, I think that you maybe sprinkle like the over on his point total because
he's averaging about 19.2. I think I saw since he's come over since the trade. So keep that in mind wherever that.
I think he's got to go for 30 tonight. Like you got to show out and show your team like this, like hey, you remember me kind of thing. Even though it was him wanting to get away, you always still want to go back and for your fans.
They also know how to defend him though too. You know what I mean? They're going to know what he likes.
Kings aren't the best defensive team though.
That's for damn sure. Yeah.
Like neither one of these teams are like going to light the world on fire on defense. This could be an over game too because, like I said, these teams it's like, oh, there's two ends of the floor. I just thought we were like shooting around on the other end, holding our
I'm
hand
still
down
salty about the NBA because I lost my 7-unit play last night. I had Indiana and Atlanta over. The line when I released it was like 246.5, 247. It closed at 241, 242 points. So anybody that bet that game late, congratulations, you win. I lose. But neither team could shoot last night. They both shot around 30% from 3-point range, and it ends up staying under by 5 points. So
Halliburton not playing was the key. Like if he played, that game would have went to 260s.
It does, but like we always talked about, like I don't know, that stuff bothers me less than it does a lot of handicappers because, like I said, like a lot of times what you'll see is an overreaction from the books. Later in the day when those star players announce that they're out, there's always an overreaction, and it creates a value situation. Like this was a perfect example. That line dropped 6 points. They still scored 242, and the reason that it didn't go over the normal line, the original line, was not because Halliburton didn't play. It's just because they didn't shoot well. You know what I mean? Like it really
does get them a lot easier shots though. Like Halliburton's like his ability to get in the lane, and I always say the best three is inside out. Like you drive in, kick out. He gets those guys so open. I mean, he's like, I don't even think the Pacers realize how good he is. I mean, that dude is a legitimate like superstar. Like each year I just continue. Like he's the one guy on that team that can really carry them. Not necessarily scoring. Like his just ability. It's kind of like the Magic-esque where it's like when he plays, he just like draws so much attention, gets everybody involved. And I thought the line actually flipped because Pacers were originally favored when he was questionable. Ended up the Hawks going off, so it didn't matter. The Hawks won either way. But there was some entry line movement. I like the Heat tonight. And speaking of line movement, this was the 8-unit game of the year for Griffin Murphy that's usually on with us last time out against the Cavs. And he thought that Mobley was going to be out and the Hero was going to play and ended up flipping. The other one happened, and the Heat almost won still. So it was like a heck of a play by him. I like the Heat again tonight. I think they're 5-0 or 4-1 against the spread their last 5 games. And this is a Timberwolves team that scratch your head. Like they're just not that team of last year. They made that like one move. They traded Karl Anthony Towns basically for Randall. To me, that's the same dude. You know what I mean? Like it's the same guy. It's not like that should have mattered that much, but they're just not as good as they were last year. They're just not that great on defense. And they've won a few lately. So I think that's why you're getting them at -4.5 here. But I'm taking the Heat as an underdog. Bam Adebayo. If you guys haven't watched him, this dude, like they got to play through him. I know Tyler Heroes was the All-Star this year, and he's having a great year. Bam Adebayo, there's a reason why he's on the Olympic team. He's the best big man. He's like in the top 5 big men in the league because he can switch on everything. He's the best defender, like on-ball defender. Like you switch him on Steph Curry, it's not like Steph Curry's just getting open shot. He can switch on everything. He doesn't have a whole lot around him, and look what he does. But sometimes they just forget about him on the offensive end. They played through him last game. I think they do so again tonight. I like the Heat to win outright, but I'm going to take the 4.5 here.
Yeah, I had my 8-unit futures play in the NBA this year was on Minnesota season win total under 52.5. So I'm already spending that money in my head. So hey to Rodney, hey to Justin, and all the other members that are popping in here and commenting in there. Thank you guys for taking time out of your day to hang out with us.
Did you? I mean, you see this Clippers line, obviously, the Brunson. Like I haven't heard. Obviously, he's not playing tonight. It went from they were going to be a 1.5 point favorite to now they're 7.5 point favorite. I'm guessing a bunch of Knicks players, but not really talking about this game as far as betting. But man, Brunson, like they had the Lakers probably beat if Brunson finishes that game. Definitely would have covered. So too bad for bettors and for the Knicks and Brunson. But I hope it looked bad. I hope it's just an ankle sprain and he'll be back in a couple of weeks, so he'll be back for the playoffs.
We talked about it yesterday with them also about why you can't take the Knicks in that game because, and I agree with you, they probably should have won that game outright. I mean, make a shot, man, make a shot. They just didn't shoot well, but now it's 0-10. We were talking about their numbers against the top tier teams in the East and West. They haven't won one of those. That's crazy. Games. They're 0-10, and they've been outscored by 18.8 points per game against the top team. So the Knicks, they were a real fun story last year in the playoffs, but you see this all the time. Like remember a couple years ago when the Hawks made that run to the Eastern Conference Finals, then they come back the next season, everyone's expecting them to pick up where they left off. It doesn't work that way, and it's not going to work that way with the Knicks. I wouldn't be surprised. They're a good team. They're a really good team in a really top-heavy conference, so you would expect them to make some noise, but I think that they're going to be fool's gold in the playoffs. They're a type of team right now that honestly, I will be betting against them in the playoffs, no matter who they get matched up with. They're a team that I think could lose in the first round.
Their problem is they don't match up against the top two teams. It doesn't matter. Like you could try to hey, we'd rather play the Celtics or the Cavs. It doesn't really matter. They don't match up well against either one of them. Maybe if Milwaukee would, but it's just not going to happen. Milwaukee can't really, you look at the standings, they're not getting to the second seed. So it's there's really no way unless Boston or the Cavs lost the first round that either one of these teams couldn't beat the Knicks. But Lakers, good win. I said they're a flawed team, but they've been playing good basketball since Luka came over. I'm still waiting for that shoe to drop a little bit.
I'm with you.
Jackson Hayes is playing out of his mind. A big Cincinnati Moeller kid here from in town. I'm in Cincinnati this weekend. Great story. His sister plays for the Bearcats. Go see the girls basketball team all the time here in town. She's been there, fifth-year senior. Great story. The family, the other brothers playing, I think at Virginia, maybe. So dad was Bengals guy. So it's great family and everything. He's playing great basketball, but he's a backup center. And it's eventually that's going to get, that's going to be a weakness for them. And as much as they're playing LeBron at the 4, I just feel like that's fine in the regular season. I just don't know if that's going to work in the playoffs. Can he do what the Warriors did when they put Kevin Durant at the 4 and would just dominate teams when they had that death lineup? I just don't know if they're built like that because they don't have Draymond Green. They have Jackson Hayes at the 5. That to me, that's a problem.
Yeah, what's the Joker going to do against that front court in a 7-game series? You know what I'm saying? It's not going to work.
And I also think, if you look at the top 4 or 5 teams, and then you say the Warriors are the 6th team, but it's they're kind of real close. So it's the difference between the second and the 5th, 6th team right now is 5 games. So it's anything can happen, and matchups are so key. I just think the Lakers, Raphael said, I think when they are the most bet team. As soon as that trade happened, they were so the books have a huge liability to not only win the Western Conference, to win the title this year. So it's usually when everybody's running to bet favorite teams like this, that doesn't end well. It's the books aren't there to give out just money. All right, so let's talk a little NHL real quick. I'll just give an NHL real quick free pick for you guys. I think there's some hidden gems in the NHL tonight, even though I only had a small play, more because I lost my 7-unit play last night. I had the Dallas Stars in regulation. They went in overtime, so we did lose. But I like a little 2-star unit play as a premium play. I also have another 2 that I was saving for a 2-star. I was saving for you. I kind of like New Jersey tonight plus 105. Winnipeg ended that 3-game losing streak last night. Now they play again. They've played a bunch of these games. It seems like in a row here and in a back-to-back slot. I just think New Jersey gets it done tonight. A nice little underdog price of plus 105. I mean, they're pretty good at home. And, I know Winnipeg is 20-11 on the road. So it's you start playing backup goalies and you got to rely on you're playing your first couple lines a little less on these back-to-back games. I think it comes back to bite you. And I think Winnipeg's only 1-3 in their last 4 games. So it's a little overrated.
I'm actually on the other side of you on that one. I like Winnipeg just because not that I disagree with any of your analysis, but it's an old baseball betting trick that I kind of apply to the NBA and NHL now. New Jersey just got done with that long West Coast trip.
Yeah, the first game back.
First game back home after a long road trip. You're just never as fresh. Yeah. And, Winnipeg, They win 11 in a row, then they lose 3 in a row. But
Yep.
I mean, they knocked Philadelphia out early last night. You could tell in the first period that game was over. So I think they're back to playing well. And New Jersey, man, they were a team I was a little higher on. Cashed with them a little bit early in the season. They've just been too up and down for me.
And people that don't know what he's talking about when you say, like, when you're on these long road trips, people always think, oh, they're coming back home, they're going to be better. And what happens is, like, you get back and you're almost like take that deep breath, like, oh, thank God I'm home. But then now, guess what you have? You've been gone. You don't have your kids, your girlfriend, your wife. So now you spend all this extra time, like, catching up on your life outside of, obviously we don't want that to affect, but guess what? It does affect people. And then you kind of lay an egg the first game back. It's more often than not, that's kind of the especially, I always say in baseball, because, man, these obviously you play every day for like 10 or 11, 10 out of 11 days or something. And all of a sudden you come home and it's like everybody just thinks you're going to be like, oh, we're back at home, we're going to win. So I do like, that's a good theory. And for people that aren't aware of it now, you can kind of like look at your scheduling. And when teams are coming back. Now, if the guys, they went on the road trip of 2 or 3, doesn't really apply.
Not as much, right?
It's when you like go extended.
If you're gone for 8 or 10 days, I mean, just think about it. Anyone that's watching right now, you go on a cruise, you go away with your family on spring break. What are you like that first day at work when you get back after
it's like hangover.
You know what I mean? Like that's kind of it. So.
Yeah. So it used to really happen when the Spurs would go on the rodeo road trip. Like it would be
right.
Because they were gone
for a month.
Yeah. Like 2.5 to 3.5 weeks, depending on the year and how the scheduling went. And it was like and it wouldn't just be one game. It would be like 2 or 3 because they were gone for so long. It had whoever did that scheduling for the Spurs has to be like,
it's kind of unbelievable that used to be a thing.
Yeah, that was crazy. All right, let's go back and talk some college hoops. So we're kind of break it up into kind of early, middle, late. First of all, is there kind of one that you maybe want to talk about here as far as there's some big ones, Alabama, Auburn, obviously North Carolina, and Duke this weekend. Like, what's the game that kind of catches your eye here?
I'm definitely going to have a 7-unit play, and it's not going to be one from the list that I sent you. I can tell you that. There's one game that I think is really, really juicy. Okay, let's start with the 3 rivalry games, right? Like first we have Duke, North Carolina. That number is at 11.5. I think that number is going to come down. They did hammer North Carolina. They won by 17 as a 13.5 point favorite, but that was in Cameron Indoor. And North Carolina has very quietly been playing well lately. They've covered the number in 5 straight. They've won 6 straight. Big underdogs in this series, in this Duke North Carolina series, usually don't have a lot of big underdogs. They're normally both packing like top 10 caliber talent. But over the last 10 years, if you look, like double-digit underdogs, 9.5, 8.5, 9 underdogs have fared really well, including some outright wins in this one. So don't be surprised if North Carolina hangs around in that one. Then Auburn, Alabama. That's also a big number. I guess that's my thing. We'll get your opinion on some of these games. But I guess one of the things that jumped out at me is we have all these big rivalry games. Auburn, Alabama, that number is around 8.5. That number is going to go up. I had that number around 9, 9.5. That number will go up. And then the Holy War, that's the third big rivalry game. Not nationally maybe, but BYU, Utah is always a battle. BYU's been playing great basketball lately, but they're 11.5 point favorites. I know they're great at home. But Utah, not a ton to play for right now. Like, they're not going to the tournament. They fired their coach or whatever. This is kind of their Super Bowl moment for them. So big numbers in these big rivalry games was the first thing that jumped out at me.
Well, don't you think that Duke game, like, first of all, if people don't realize, because if you're not following, like, on a date, they're on the bubble. Like, North Carolina gets blown out again. I think they need to win. They'll have to probably win a couple games in the ACC tournament to feel secure about getting in. And that's kind of crazy that North Carolina is at that part. They did give Hubert Davis an extension anyway this year, even though he's kind of struggled this year. It's really more about the ACC is just not good. I mean, Clemson's pretty good, Louisville's pretty good, and obviously Duke's very good. And then they're the next best team, in my opinion. But this is probably a 3-bid league unless North Carolina, I think, keeps it close. So I do think North Carolina is the play with the number. Duke is killing people, though. I mean, they're 5-0 against the spread. It's not like the spread's 10. I mean, the spread's
22.
Yeah, 20 most games.
Yeah.
And Cooper Flag, I mean, people think it's one more year. I mean, come on, get real. This dude's like, people have him rated higher than Zion, like when he was at Duke. that's how good like the scouts think he is and already is. So that game, but I think that BYU game is like, wouldn't it be something if Utah, because BYU shot their load, they nice win last out. Utah, big disappointing loss. That was actually one of 7-unit play for me. I just thought they would kill West Virginia. West Virginia struggled BYU. I thought it was a tough back-to-back spot. That's an altitude game that people don't realize. And they didn't play. Now it's like Utah is like, let's ruin BYU's kind of, not season, but like, definitely would help them out. So I kind of think you take the points in that one. The other one, I didn't have a strong opinion because I had Alabama in the first matchup and they lost. And to be honest, they got it back to even, not playing well. I thought they should have probably pulled it away. And Auburn just was too big. And now Auburn's off a loss too.
Yeah,
so it's
they're not going to be screwing around. You got to check on Denver Jones's status in that game. He didn't play earlier in the week. Auburn, one of my favorite stats about this team is that they have 7 different guys that have scored 20 or more points in a game.
Crazy.
This year. That's unbelievable. When the ball gets rolling downhill for them, they don't stop. Like they'll put up a 19-2 run on you in the matter of minutes. Not like an extended 8-minute, they're on a 17-3 run. Like that happens in minutes. That happens in like 3 minutes with these guys. So let the number be your guide in this one. Auburn's a better team. They're coming off a loss. They're playing at home. I think they're going to bury Alabama.
Their length is like an NBA team, where it's like every guy has the crazy wingspan. And it's like you think you have an open 3, and these guys come from the paint and tip it or block it. And then all of a sudden they get out and, and it's dunk city on the dunker 3-point, drive in, kick out for a 3. They're not the greatest 3-point shooting team. They're really streaky. But when you're that good on defense, you get easy shots going the other way. So it kind of makes up for it. I kind of worry a little bit in the tournament because as much as I love Bruce Pearl, I've loved him back. I think it was Milwaukee back when he started coaching. He made that run. He was pressing. And then, of course, at Tennessee, I kind of worry a little bit because he's not the greatest X's and O coach. At least that's always been my knock on him. But, man, does he get these guys play hard. They play really hard, and great defense wins. So I kind of think this is a sneaky, statement game because anytime you can beat your rival and sweep them, when they're a top 10 team, like that recruiting really can pay off.
Yeah, keep an eye on the betting percentages here is my advice to people. If the majority of the action is coming in on Alabama and this number still keeps moving Auburn's way, you get that reverse line movement is what we talk about. That's when the majority of the action is on one team, but the number is moving against you. That's a reverse line movement. If that happens in this game, that's an indicator. That's an indicator that Auburn is going to just unleash the hounds in this game. And I think it could be bloody. And the main reason is that Auburn's strength, their inside game, their strength, what they do in the paint, they play inside out, plays right into Alabama's weakness. So it's just a bad matchup for Alabama.
Auburn, as lengthy as Auburn is, Alabama's the opposite. They have a lot of small guards and guys that don't have big wingspan, which against today's college basketball, the way they play, shooting so many threes, doesn't always hurt you that much. We saw what they did in the tournament all the way, to the Final Four last year. But when you play a team like Auburn, that's that big and that strong and that big a presence. I mean, they have like 4 dudes on the inside that look like NBA centers and power forwards. That's not something you see in college basketball very often anymore.
Well, one of the things, and I was watching the Arch Madness yesterday, the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament. One of the things to watch over these next couple of weeks as we get into conference tournament play and as we get into NCAA tournament play is you got to get to the basket. I know everybody wants to shoot three-pointers, the analytics, all that stuff. You watch these games. The teams yesterday and even watching the High Point game this morning before I got on here in the Big South tournament is the teams that get to the basket and get easy shots, get layups, get things near the basket. Those are the teams that are going to win. Like teams that just become too reliant on the three-point shot this time of year, those are teams that are ripe for upsets because you miss a few, then you start pressing a little bit. It's not like the regular season where you have, over 20 games, we want to play this way. And over that time period, it'll play itself out in the analytics. It's one game. And if you were just so reliant on the three-point shot and it's not your night and you're not hitting or the rims are tight or whatever it is, you're going home. So that's one of the things that I handicap this time of year is I look for teams that have big men. I look for teams that get easy baskets. I look for teams that have guards that drive to the basket and can get to the free throw line. So don't fall in love with three-point shooting teams. That's why I'm a little nervous about a team like Alabama come NCAA tournament time. Just their over-reliance on the three-point shot.
And to be honest, Alabama, like this year, they've kind of shot more. But last year's team, they did drive a lot. And they're layup or three-pointer. That's basically what they want. They don't like mid-range. That's just not what their thing is. They're more like an analytical type team. But this year they've caught kind of, live and die by the three a little more. So I think if they want to make a deep run, I mean, it obviously, if you get hot, you can obviously make a run. But if they want to make a deep run, you're going to have to win 1 or 2 games where you don't shoot the ball well. Sears has got to get to the hoop and get to the foul line. He's one of the best at getting the foul line.
Okay, staying in the SEC, another game that jumped out at me about tomorrow is Vanderbilt, Georgia. Really good game there. Really big game. It's not like ESPN is going to tout it as if it's a play-in game because both these teams are on the bubble. I don't think that it's a play-in game. I think whoever wins this game likely punches their ticket. The loser is still in a pretty good shape because of the resumes. But Georgia right now, over the last week, it's not just that they beat Florida, then went on the road and piss-pounded Texas, and then handily beat a South Carolina team that gives people all kinds of trouble at home. It was the way that they did it. It's not just that they won. It was watching them play brilliant, beautiful basketball. That right now they're playing – last week they played as well as anybody in the country. They've been really good at home. I think Vanderbilt had its bubble burst a little bit. They won those 3 straight games, including a big play by yours truly, Craig Trapp last Saturday against that Missouri. If you watch that Missouri game, though, they were really lucky to win that game. Missouri had them on the ropes the entire second half. They just couldn't knock them out. And watching that game, both teams had to make a lot of tough shots. There were dudes making really tough shots back and forth, trading blows. Georgia's been making easy shots because they've been getting easy shots because they're passing the basketball. Their movement. Georgia just looks like they're playing a little bit better. I like the home court. This is a small number. I know some people are in love with Vanderbilt right now because they've been able to pull off some magic, but they have not been the same team on the road.
Right.
And like I said, I think their bubble just got burst by Arkansas. So I think Georgia's going to keep rolling. They're one of those teams that until I see something different from them, I'm just going to keep betting them based on what type of basketball they're playing.
Vandy, this is more of a must-win for Vandy, I think. I just think Georgia, they look like an NCAA tournament team. And when you watch Vandy, especially on the road, they don't necessarily look like a NCAA tournament team. And I think all these SEC teams, they could get 12, 13 teams in. I don't know. I just don't know if that's going to be the facts the way it's – I mean, it could be. The NCAA committee could be like, hey, the SEC is just that good. If these teams were in other conferences, they would be in the top tier. I just don't to me, I think you had a lot of opportunities. If you're the 12th or 13th best team in the SEC, that doesn't mean I think you should get in the tournament.
I agree that Vanderbilt had the number 342 rated non-conference schedule. They beat absolutely no one in the non-conference. They lost to Drake, but they beat Tennessee. They beat Kentucky. They beat Ole Miss. They beat Missouri. They beat Texas A&M. They have a bunch of top 10 wins. Hey, Jen, if you just missed that last section, I am buying Georgia. I like them at home. I think they're playing better basketball. It's a small number. It's 4.5 now. I think that number is gonna sneak up near 6 by tip off. And Georgia, they've really reestablished a really nice home court advantage right now.
And this is a teaser
Coliseum as a tough place to play, but watching them this year, the fans are really into it. Mike White has done a really good job of activating that Georgia fan base in a sport that they normally don't care about. So I think they smell it. I think the fan base kind of smells it, that if they win this game, they might be punching their ticket to the NCAA tournament, final home game. Just a lot of things are pointing towards Georgia in this spot.
Yeah, I think Mike White, I was like, I cannot believe he's leaving Florida for Georgia. I was like, what are you, crazy, dude? First of all, it's just, Florida's won championships before. It's Georgia, it's been a long time since they've been really good at basketball. So, but I mean, he's kind of put the work in and it's starting to pay off. I do think this will be a teaser probably play for me tomorrow. So make sure this will be one of my teams in the teaser. I think you tease down Georgia. I think they're, if you can get it in that 4.5 to 6 range, where you're getting it at 1.5 or 2. I definitely think they're going to win the game. Maybe they, it's like a throw a 3 in at the buzzer. It doesn't count and they backdoor you. If you have the teaser, you're a little safer there. So interesting. Someone said, what website, Robert, do you look at when you see who has the most money or the percentage of bets?
If you honestly just go to Google, I'm not gonna point us towards any competitors or any other thing. Just go to Google's your friend, and you can find some sites that have that. I can say that Covers, their numbers aren't the most reliable, but Covers has a lot of good betting information and one of the best betting sites. So I don't feel bad. I don't consider them a direct competitor. So that's one site, but there are some sites out there that you can find. So also, Craig, two other games really quick. One, Ohio State, Indiana is going to be a game to watch. Probably not a great game to bet because I don't trust either one of these teams. However, I do think I have this number coming in around 1.5, 2. I don't think that's given Indiana enough credit for how good they can be at home. They have been playing a little bit better basketball here down the stretch. Ohio State, I just don't trust them on the road. They've lost 4 straight to Indiana, including losing at home to the Hoosiers in January. Ohio State was an 8-point favorite in that game. Indiana was undermanned in that game, missing a couple people, and Indiana still beat them. So that number's small, but these are 2 more teams that both need a win. Whoever loses this game has absolutely no shot.
Unless they win the Big Ten tournament.
Right. Absolutely no shot. I don't think that either one of them is going to make it anyway, but the winner still kind of has a shot. Yeah. And then another game to keep an eye on is St. John's at Marquette. Marquette is going to be a small favorite because they're at home. They are tough at home. Has St. John's peaked? That's kind of my question. Like the last week and a half, I've been reading a lot about Pitino, getting a lot of love, are they going to be a number 1 seed? They're playing good basketball. I like this team because, again, they're physical, they're experienced, right?
Yeah.
However, you look back on them and they weren't that impressive against Seton Hall. They only won by 10 as a 20-point favorite. They only won by 6 points at Butler. They beat Connecticut, who's been kind of up and down, but they got a DePaul win up in there. I just haven't seen St. John's. They've been the beneficiaries of a relatively easy schedule, frankly.
And a weak Big East.
A weaker Big East, 100%. So I feel like they might be a sell high. On the other side, though, you have Marquette, who nobody's talking about. They're only 4-5 in their last 9 games. They were one of those teams. They lost their point guard from last year, Tyler Kolek, who was one of those guys who was like Sears, like Tyler Halliburton, how we talk about. He just got everybody the shots that they wanted. He was so good for them. I was like, you don't just lose a guy like that and maintain the level. Marquette did for the first 3 quarters of the season. But like I said, are they coming back down to earth here, playing less than 500 ball in their last 9 games? They're off of a loss to Connecticut. They have revenge for wanting to beat St. John's. The home crowd is going to be into it. Marquette 6-1 against St. John's in the last 7 games. Another really small number that I feel like isn't doing enough justice to just how good Marquette can be in their own gym. That's a tough road trip for those teams.
I love St. John's here though, because think about St. John's. They are just like dudes. They're like, if you get in a backyard brawl, you see these guys there, you're like, oh crap, I might want to just think again and leave this one, because they just 5 guys that just want it more than their other guys. I mean, they play defense. If they shoot the ball 20% from 3, no problem. They're going to go get the rebound and score. They find ways to win. And Pitino, you hear, I mean, the great thing now with social media, we hear some of his press conference stuff. That's one thing. You actually see him in the locker room that they're taping and posting, him talking about life, things aren't easy. You got to overcome. I mean, it's just why he's so good. This guy he knows how to pull the right switches. And I think they want a number 1 seed. Sometimes teams don't necessarily, they're like, I don't care. We could be a 1, 2, or 3. I think St. John's wants to prove they're back. Same with Pitino. He still has that chip on his shoulder from the NCAA, the suspension that cost him the Louisville job. And I think he's wanting to grind everybody. And I think they do. So I think Shaka Smart's super overrated as a coach. I like him, but super overrated. I mean, you don't leave Tech. They were basically going to fire him at Texas. That's why he left to go to Marquette. So to me, I think this is just these dudes. It is senior night. That always worries me. I never, ever, I hate betting against teams on senior night that have good seniors, and they do, Marquette. But there's something special about this St. John's team. I think they're going to win the Big East. I'll win this game. They're going to win the Big East tournament, and I think they're going to be tough in the tournament.
That's the thing. I actually don't think they're going to win the Big East tournament.
Really?
Yes.
Is it Madison Square Gardens this year? Is it at Brooklyn?
That's a really good. That's a really good.
It switches between the two now.
Right. I think it is at MSG this year. But either way, they're going to have the big home crowd advantage, right? But they are so bad of a shooting team that I just don't think that they're going to be able to push around Connecticut and then push around Xavier. And then I just don't think they're going to be able to bully their way to the championship. And I think their lack of ability to make outside shots is going to catch up on them. They play a lot of close games. Like, you look, they've only lost 4 games this year. No one has beaten St. John's by more than 3 points. They've not lost a game by more than 3 points, which is crazy to think about. But when you play that many close games, one bounce of the ball type of thing, it's tough to string together 3 or 4 of those in a row this time of year. So I think that they're going to be one of those number 1 seeds in a conference tournament that I think is going to be vulnerable. I just don't think that they're as overwhelming of a favorite in the Big East. Xavier is a team that I'm watching for. Xavier.
Wouldn't it be great, though, if it's – I don't know, because we obviously don't know the brackets yet, the final. But if it's UConn and St. John's, because UConn always travels well to New York for this tournament, and then it's this is the last year. Obviously, UConn's leaving to go to the Big 12, so this is a huge. It would be an absolute one of the biggest Big East games ever for the tournament. So it would be a great matchup. I hope that can happen as far as that they would actually meet in the finals instead of maybe like the semifinals. But the team I think to watch actually in there, I like Xavier a little bit. I know him very well, obviously being in town here. But Creighton, they're one of those teams. Sure. The little point guard, that dude is like
Ashworth.
I mean, that is just a dude that it's like.
Well, he's 30. Well, he's 30, so he should be better. I'm kidding. He's seriously like 26 or something like that.
He kind of reminds me of Bobby Hurley, where it's like it's jerky, sometimes herky-jerky, but he just like gets you into the right spots. He hits all the big shots, and they lost a ton. I thought Creighton was going to be a way down team, and they have not. So let's wrap it up here because we are heading in over 40 minutes here. But don't forget, we got a ton of plays. You're going to have did you tell me?
I will have a 7-unit college basketball play. It's one of the games I did not talk about. I've been waiting for this game all week. Absolutely love it. I do want to say, Craig, are you a UFC guy?
I'm not. I don't. Okay. I'm more of a boxing guy. I love boxing, so I've never been able to switch. It's like if you're a boxing guy, I almost feel like they're stealing. You know what I mean? Like they're taking some of the good what would be boxers and turning them in here. And I always hate that.
Justin, I know Nick and Griffin both release UFC plays, so check the BPA tomorrow. Rafael Esparza is a very good MMA handicapper. So unfortunately, I don't do UFC. Craig doesn't do UFC, but check the BPA tomorrow because more than likely we will have some big plays in whatever the UFC event is. In fact, Doc Sports newsletter, which is released on Wednesdays, make sure you check that out because that is loaded with free plays and information. Rafael Esparza is going to have a big play in that. I think it's in Vegas this week, that UFC event. So check that out.
So right here, free 60, DocSports.com, free 60. So if you've never used this before, you're a new customer, use this. You get that $60, and then you can maybe use 30 tonight for college basketball, NBA, whatever you want, NHL, and then save 30 tomorrow, and you can use it for one of the UFC guys that he was speaking of. I do think, like you said, Raphael, Nick, and Griffin will all have plays up this weekend and for the UFC cards, so make sure you get in on it. And usually, I think it's more than one play usually as well, so make sure you take advantage of that. Of course, if you haven't done so, make sure you get in on that Premium Plus. It's been hot, 9-3, so it's $49.99. Click the link in the description to sign up. You'll get the Indian Cowboys plays, plus then 3 extra plays every day. It's just a total of $49.99. The only way to get that price, though, is you have to do it on desktop. So if you click the link, it'll take you to desktop. So that way you don't pay that extra fee that Apple and Google charge. So make sure you take advantage of that. We will see you again on Monday, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We'll have the 2 knuckleheads back with me. And then we're going to be locked and loaded. We're going to have Tony George on Tuesday, Raphael back on Wednesday, and then Robert will be back, and we'll have tons to talk about because we'll have conference tournaments rolling next week. So Thursday, Friday will be some interesting talk. So make sure you stay tuned. Good luck, and hope all your bets are winning ones.